Now, the 60s and the 70s were a time of huge social, political, and cultural change. And one of the main issues that was circulating in that time period was gender equality, like feminism and stuff like that. And these issues were reflected in a lot of popular music that was happening at the time. And people used the music to communicate their opinions and views. Now, one of the main events that happened during this time was the second wave of feminism. That was after the suffragettes of the 1920s. And this second wave of feminism focused mainly on social rights and domestic issues rather than legal rights, as for the suffragettes. And one of the main songs that highlighted this was Leslie Gore's You Don't Own Me. Now, that song vocalised feelings of a lot of women that were living at the time. And because of this, it was proved to be extremely popular and actually reached number 2 on the Billboard 100 in the US. And because of its popularity, it was highly influential. It's very, very influential and became an anthem for women's emancipation and social freedom. Now, the verse goes like this. I'm going to sing it because that's what I like doing. The verse goes like this. You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. You don't own me. Don't say I can't go with other boys. Something like that. And that's the lyrics. And so those lyrics are basically about not being the possession of a man, and also that last line about not being able to go with other boys. Basically she just wants a choice of who she can hang out with. Now the chorus goes, don't tell me what to do, don't tell me what to say, and if I go out with you, don't put me on display. Now, that, at least in the original, it's sung with a lot of conviction, and so it became a voice for women of the time. And yeah, women that were finding their independence. And that last line, to me, don't put me on display, is very powerful because it highlighted the desire for women to be considered human, and not just an object to be, put on display socially and not just legally. And ironically, this song actually coincided with the release of a book called The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedman. And it's basically about how women were not happy in their current situation and highlighted what they needed to achieve to be fulfilled. And the 60s were full of events, like there was the rise of lots of women's rights groups and laws preventing social discrimination against women. And a lot of this actually carried on into the 70s when there was the strike for equality. Now that was a massive event that was organised by Betty Friedman, ironically. And it was the largest protest rally since the suffragettes in 1920, so it was huge. And hot on the heels of this came the legendary I Am Woman song by Helen Reddy. And this was a lot more of a celebratory anthem than a protest anthem like the last one. And it showed how much feminism had progressed over the last couple of decades. And it was extremely popular, and it still is to this day. It actually topped the US charts at the time, and yeah, it remains very popular. Now, the chorus, I'm going to sing the chorus first this time. It goes like, oh yes, I am wise, but it's wisdom born of pain. Oh yes, I've paid the price, but look how much I've gained. If I have to, I can do anything. I am strong, I am invincible, I am woman. Or I might have gotten a couple of the melodies wrong, but it doesn't matter. That's the lyrics, and the first part acknowledges that women had had it really tough in the past. So they had it tough, like wisdom born of pain, like, you know, really strong phrases. But it also acknowledges their strength and about, you know, how they've come out stronger than ever before. And it actually uses a lot of emotional language like strong, invincible, and it also repetition. It uses a lot of repetition. It repeats the I am phrase a lot. So yeah, that's some of the things she uses to convey her view. And this actually paved the way towards women being proud of themselves and standing up for themselves. So the verse goes like this, the first verse. I am woman, hear me roar, in numbers too big to ignore, and I know too much to go back and pretend. 'Cause I've heard it all before, and I've been down there on the floor. No one's ever gonna keep me down again. So, the first part, numbers too big to ignore, it's an allusion to the large female population. About 50% of the population was and still is female. And this also ensured that their cause would get the attention that it deserved. And the second part is actually a linking verse. So it leads on to the chorus. And what's also interesting is the key change. The key change in the chorus. And I think that's analogous. It's analogous to the change in a woman's perception of themselves. And yeah, the feminist movement at the time that coincided with it definitely ensured the success of this song. But likewise, the song was very instrumental, pun intended, in strengthening the feminist cause by highlighting and improving awareness and encouraging female camaraderie and the ideology of group cohesion and that kind of stuff. So the feminist movement and the song kind of fed on each other, if you know what I mean. The song was actually inspirational for many women at the time, and here's an interesting story, is Emma actually heard this song and was motivated to become a truck driver, which was very, very super rare for women at the time. And according to her, she, as of 2007, so over 30 years after release, she said she still listens to the song every day for motivation. So yeah, very, very important. And it also had an impact on the rock scene, which is also interesting. There was a rock girl group that came out just after that, the Chicago Women's Liberation Rock Band. Now, they didn't last very long, but they did play at over 100 gigs, so they would have had some influence. And I definitely think that this song would have motivated that kind of movement. So, yeah, both of the aforementioned songs are actually two of many songs during that era that helped create awareness. How they helped create awareness for social and political issues of the time. Okay, and by the way, I forgot. Here's my list of references.